Right this moment, somewhere in your city, a person sits alone in their room, trapped in a maze of their own making. The walls of this maze aren't built of brick and mortar. They're constructed of thoughts, negative thoughts that have grown so thick and so high that they block out the sunlight of opportunity. I knew such a person. Back in 1992, Michael worked at the same radio station as I did. Every morning, he'd arrive with slumped shoulders, carrying the weight of his own negative thoughts like heavy chains. "I'm not good enough," he'd tell himself. "Things never work out for me," was his daily mantra. "Why even try?" Became his life's theme song. But Michael's story isn't unique. Your story might sound similar. Perhaps you felt those same chains of negative thinking weighing you down. The good news, those chains are imaginary. The better news, you can break free this very instant. What you're about to hear will change your life. You ready? The most successful people I've met in my 40 years of broadcasting and speaking aren't necessarily the most talented or educated. They're the ones who mastered their thoughts. They discovered what I'm about to share with you. Your thoughts are like radio signals broadcasting constantly into the universe of your life. Think about that for a moment. Every single thought you have is sending out a signal that attracts corresponding circumstances, people, and opportunities, or pushes them away. Let me tell you something fascinating about your mind. Scientists at Stanford University found that the average person has about 60,000 thoughts per day. The shocking part, research shows that 80 of these thoughts are negative. That's 48,000 negative messages you're sending to yourself daily. But here's where it gets interesting. Your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what you imagine. When you think a negative thought, your body responds as if that negative thing is actually happening. Your heart rate increases, stress hormones flood your system, and your muscles tense up. I remember talking to a successful businessman in Chicago who told me something profound. He said, "Earl, I used to think success was about knowing the right people or having the right education. But then I realized success is simply the natural consequence of replacing negative thoughts with positive ones. Think of your mind as the most sophisticated computer ever created. But here's the catch. You are the programmer. Every thought you allow to take root is like a line of code you're writing into your life's program. Negative thoughts create negative programs. Positive thoughts create success programs. Now, let me share something powerful with you. Your negative thoughts aren't your thoughts at all. They're borrowed thoughts, borrowed from parents, teachers, friends, television, and society. You didn't create them. You inherited them. And just like you can return something you borrowed, you can return these negative thoughts to their original owners. I've seen people transform their lives in a matter of months. Once they understand this truth, take Sarah, a real estate agent from Phoenix. In 1994, she was on the verge of quitting her career. Her negative thoughts told her she couldn't compete in a tough market. But then she learned what I'm teaching you now. Within 6 months, she doubled her sales. Within a year, she was the top agent in her firm. The only thing that changed was her thoughts. The remarkable thing about thoughts is how they form patterns in your mind. Think about walking through fresh snow. The first time you make a path, it's difficult. The snow is deep, and each step requires effort. But what happens when you walk that same path again? It becomes easier. Walk it a few more times, and you've created a clear, packed down trail that's easy to follow. Your thoughts work exactly the same way. Each time you think a thought, you strengthen its path in your mind. The problem is we've spent years strengthening negative thought paths without even realizing it. Let me tell you about an experiment conducted at New York University in 1993. Researchers found that negative experiences imprint on our brains like writing on wet cement, while positive experiences are more like writing on water. This explains why one criticism can outweigh 10 compliments in our minds. But here's the fascinating part. This doesn't happen because negative thoughts are more powerful. It happens because we give them more attention. It's like a small dog barking in the middle of the night. The bark isn't powerful, but it gets your attention because you focus on it. I once asked a group of successful business owners what they thought about failure. Their answers surprised me. They didn't see failure as negative at all. They saw it as information, valuable feedback about what doesn't work. Same experience, different thought pattern. Your brain is constantly forming new neural connections. Every thought you think creates a tiny electrical charge that connects one brain cell to another. When you repeat a thought, you strengthen that connection. This is why negative thinking can become a habit. But it's also why you can break that habit. Your brain doesn't know whether what you're thinking about is actually happening, or if you're just thinking about it. When you think about biting into a lemon, your mouth waters. When you think about something embarrassing, your cheeks flush. When you think about failure, your body prepares for defeat. I met an Olympic athlete who understood this perfectly. Before every race, she would run the entire race in her mind, seeing herself executing each movement perfectly. She told me, "Oh, by the time I step onto the track, I've already won the race dozens of times in my mind." This is the science of thought and action. Your thoughts trigger real physical responses in your body. Negative thoughts release stress hormones like cortisol. Positive thoughts release beneficial hormones like serotonin and dopamine. You're literally changing your body's chemistry with every thought. Let me give you another example. In 1995, I worked with a manufacturing company in Detroit. Their assembly line workers were making too many errors. The management's first thought was to implement stricter quality controls. Instead, they tried something different. They started each shift with 5 minutes of positive visualization. Workers would picture themselves doing their jobs perfectly. Within 3 months, error rates dropped by 41. Here's what's happening in your mind right now. As you read these words, you're forming neural pathways. You're beginning to understand that your thoughts aren't just passive observations. They're active creators of your reality. That negative thought you had this morning, maybe it was about your abilities, your future, or your worth. The thought created a chemical reaction in your body, influenced your posture, affected your tone of voice, and shaped how others responded to you. This isn't philosophy. It's science. The good news is that you can use this same process to your advantage. Just as negative thoughts create negative patterns, positive thoughts create success patterns. But remember, this isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing thoughts that serve you rather than sabotage you. The price of negative thinking is far too high. It's like paying for a first-class ticket, but choosing a ride in the cargo hold. You're already paying the price of success through your time, energy, and effort. Why not enjoy the benefits? Let me share with you exactly how your negative thoughts are costing you. Every time you think, "I can't do this," you're right. Every time you think, "This is too hard," you're right. Every time you think, "I'm not good enough," you're right. Not because these thoughts are true, but because your mind makes them true. I remember meeting Tom, a talented architect in Boston. His creativity was remarkable, but his negative thoughts kept him from showing his designs to potential clients. They'll probably reject him, he'd tell himself. In 1993, he calculated how much money these thoughts had cost him. The figure shocked him, over $200,000 in lost contracts, all because of thoughts that weren't even true. But the financial cost is just the beginning. Let me tell you about Maria, a brilliant woman I met during a seminar in Chicago. She told me how her negative thinking had slowly poisoned her marriage. Every time her husband came home late, her thoughts would spiral into doubt and suspicion. She created entire scenarios of betrayal in her mind. The truth, he was working extra hours to save for her birthday surprise. By the time she realized this, their relationship had suffered deep wounds that took years to heal. The health implications of negative thinking are even more startling. Medical research from the Mayo Clinic shows that people with persistent negative thoughts have higher rates of heart disease, higher blood pressure, and weaker immune systems. They age faster, sleep poorly, and have less energy. Your negative thoughts are literally making you sick. I witnessed this firsthand with Robert, a business owner from Seattle. His constant worry about competition created such severe stress that he developed ulcers. His doctor told him something profound. Your body is keeping score of your thoughts. Within 6 months of changing his thinking patterns, his health improved dramatically. His ulcers healed, his blood pressure normalized, and his energy returned. But perhaps the highest price of negative thinking is the opportunities you'll never know you missed. It's the conversations you never started, the ideas you never shared, the dreams you never pursued. It's like wearing dark glasses and complaining that the world is too dim. Take Peter, salesman I knew in Philadelphia. Every morning he'd look at his call list and think, "These people probably don't want to hear from me." Those thoughts made his voice hesitant, his pitch weak. One day he decided to try an experiment. For 1 week he'd think, "These people need what I'm offering." His sales doubled that week. Same person, same product, different thoughts. The most heartbreaking cost is in personal relationships. Negative thoughts create a field around you that others can sense. They respond to your doubt with doubt, to your fear with distance, to your suspicion with withdrawal. You might think you're hiding these thoughts, but they show in your eyes, your voice, your posture. I once asked a highly successful CEO about her hiring process. He told me, Earl, you don't hire people for their skills alone. I watch how they think. Negative thinkers can have all the talent in the world, but they'll always find a way to sabotage success, their own and the team's. But here's the good news, and it's wonderfully good news. All of these costs are optional. You don't have to pay them anymore. Just like you can switch off a light that's draining electricity, you can switch off the negative thoughts that are draining your life. Remember Sarah from our earlier discussion? After she changed her thinking, not only did her real estate sales improve, but her entire life transformed. Her relationships deepened, her health improved, and opportunities seemed to appear from nowhere. The opportunities were always there, she told me later. I just couldn't see them through the fog of my negative thoughts. The price of negative thinking isn't just measured in dollars and cents. It's measured in moments of joy never experienced, in hugs never given, in potential never reached. It's measured in the difference between the life you're living and the life you could be living. I've interviewed countless successful people over my career, and I've noticed something remarkable. They all face the same challenges as everyone else. They all have the same doubts creep in. The difference. They have learned to manage their thoughts like a skilled gardener manages their garden, pulling out weeds, negative thoughts before they can take root. Here's what's fascinating about negative thoughts. They can't survive without your permission. They need your attention, your belief, and your energy to stay alive. The moment you withdraw these things, negative thoughts begin to wither and die. Think of it this way. Your mind is like a mighty river. Negative thoughts are like debris floating on the surface. The river isn't the debris. You aren't your negative thoughts. You're the powerful current underneath. Now, let me show you exactly how to change your thought patterns. This isn't positive thinking. It's practical thinking. It's strategic thinking. It's successful thinking. First, you need to understand that thoughts follow a pattern. They're habitual. Just like you probably take the same route to work each day, your mind follows familiar thought patterns. The good news is that patterns can be changed. Let me share a technique I learned from Dr. Thompson, a neuroscientist I met in 1993. He called it the 3R system. Recognize, record, replace. Here's how it works. First, you recognize when a negative thought appears. This takes practice because most negative thoughts have become so familiar, they're like background noise in your mind. Start by setting a mental alarm every time you feel a negative emotion. Anxiety, fear, doubt, anger. Stop and ask yourself, what thought just created this feeling? You'll be amazed at what you discover. I taught this to a group of executives in Dallas. One of them, James, realized he had the thought, I'm going to fail over 50 times before lunch. He'd never noticed it before. But once he did, he could begin changing it. The second step is to record these thoughts. Carry a small notebook or use your phone. Every time you catch a negative thought, write it down. It serves two purposes. It makes you more aware of your thought patterns, and it removes the thought from your mind and puts it on paper where you can examine it objectively. Lindy, a surgeon I worked with, did this exercise for a week. She discovered that 9 of her negative thoughts were variations of, I'm not prepared enough. Yet she graduated top of her class and had 10 years of successful experience. The thought wasn't based on reality. It was just a habit. The third step is replacement. This is where real change begins. For every negative thought you identify, create a specific, realistic, positive replacement. Notice I said realistic. We're not trying to pretend everything is perfect. We're creating useful thoughts that serve you better than the negative ones. Here's a powerful mental exercise I want you to try right now. Think of your most common negative thought. Got it? Now, imagine the thought is like a file on your mental computer. Just like you can drag a file to the trash on your computer. Imagine dragging that thought to a mental trash bin. Now, replace it with a new file, a positive thought that serves you better. Let me tell you about Bill, a basketball coach I met in Phoenix. His team was losing, and his dominant thought was we don't have enough talent. He changed it to we can outwork any team. That new thought changed how he coached, how his team practiced, and ultimately how they played. They won their division that year. This brings us to neural pathways. Every time you think a thought, you're either strengthening an old pathway or creating a new one. It's like walking through a field. Walk the same path often enough and you create a clear trail. The more you use a neural pathway, the stronger it becomes. Here's a fascinating experiment conducted at Harvard. In 1994, they had pianists practice a simple melody in two different ways. One group actually played the melody on a piano. The other group just thought about playing it. Brain scans showed that both groups developed the same neural pathways. The brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined practice. You can use this to your advantage. Spend 5 minutes each morning mentally rehearsing positive thoughts. Imagine yourself responding to challenges with confidence. Picture yourself making decisions with clarity. Feel yourself succeeding. You're literally building neural pathways with each positive visualization. I taught this technique to a tennis player who was struggling with her serve. Instead of thinking don't double foul a negative thought, she started thinking strong serve, perfect placement. Her serving percentage improved by 23 in 2 weeks. Here's another powerful exercise. The Success Journal. Every evening, write down 3 things you did well that day. They don't have to be big things. Maybe you made a good decision, helped someone, or handled a problem calmly. This builds new neural pathways that look for. And remember success instead of failure. Robert, the sales manager in Seattle, tried this for 30 days. He told me something remarkable happened. Not only did he start noticing more successes, but his team started performing better too. Because his new thought patterns changed how he led, how he spoke, and what he expected from his team. Now here's something crucial about building new neural pathways. They need maintenance. Just like a path through a field will grow over if it's not used, your new positive thought patterns need regular use to stay strong. That's why consistency is more important than intensity. Think of it like this. You're not just changing your thoughts, you're rewiring your brain. Every positive thought is like laying down a new fiber optic cable in your mind, creating faster, clearer pathways to success. I learned a powerful technique from a meditation teacher in 1995. She called it thought watching. Spend 5 minutes each day just observing your thoughts without judging them, like watching clouds pass across the sky. This creates space between you and your thoughts, making it easier to change the negative ones. Here's your first action step. Start your day with a thought audit. The first hour of your morning sets the tone for your entire day. When you wake up, instead of reaching for your phone or jumping into your routine, take 5 minutes to direct your thoughts deliberately. Ask yourself, what am I choosing to think about today? Notice I said choosing because that's what you're doing. Making a choice. Every thought is a choice. Every choice has a consequence. I learned this technique from a neuroscientist in 1993. He explained that our brains are most programmable in the first and last 30 minutes of our day. That's when new thought patterns can be established most effectively. Let me share a morning routine that has transformed lives. You call it the Power Hour, though it only takes 20 minutes. Start with 5 minutes of gratitude. List 5 specific things you're grateful for. Not just my family, but the way my daughter smiled at breakfast. This sets your mind to look for positives. Next, take 5 minutes to visualize your day going perfectly. See yourself handling challenges with ease. Picture yourself making excellent decisions. Imagine positive interactions with others. Remember what I told you earlier. Your brain treats these visualizations as real practice. Then take 5 minutes to read or listen to something inspiring. Feed your mind like you feed your body. I knew a CEO who read 1 page from a book of wisdom every morning. In 1 year, his company's profits doubled. Coincidence? He doesn't think so. Finally, spend 5 minutes stating your intentions for the day. Not just goals, the intentions. Goals about doing. Intentions about being. Instead of I will make 10 sales calls, think I will be confident and helpful to everyone I speak with today. Daily practices. These are your thought management tools for the active hours of your day. Think of them as mental circuit breakers that stop negative thoughts before they can take control. Here's your second action step. Create a thought replacement system. Every time a negative thought appears, replace it immediately with its positive opposite. Don't fight the negative thought. That only gives it more power. Instead, simply replace it. If you think I'm too old to start something new, replace it with, my experience gives me an advantage. If you think I don't have enough education, replace it with, I have the ability to learn anything I need to know. I taught this system to a group of salespeople in 1994. One woman increased her sales by 40 in just 1 month. The only thing she changed was her thoughts. When rejection came, instead of thinking I'm failing, she thought I'm one step closer to success. Create mental emergency kit. There will be times when negative thoughts attack in force. Maybe you fail at something important. Maybe you face unexpected setbacks. Maybe someone criticizes you harshly. In these moments, you need immediate thought correction tools. Keep a list of your achievements where you can easily access it. Write down every compliment you receive. Save emails and messages that praise your work. When negative thoughts attack, pull out this evidence that contradicts them. I learned this from an Olympic athlete who told me, Earl, before every competition, I review my victory file. It reminds me of who I really am when doubt tries to tell me otherwise. Your fourth action, start tracking your thoughts. Keep a small notebook with you. For 1 week, make a simple mark every time you catch yourself thinking negatively. Don't judge the thoughts, just count them. This awareness alone will begin to reduce their frequency. A banker in Detroit tried this in 1996 and was shocked to discover he had over 100 negative thoughts before lunch. But by the end of the week, just the act of counting had reduced that number to less than 20. Awareness is often the biggest step toward change. Your fifth action, stas. Create a daily thought routine. Just like your body, you need to exercise your body's positive thinking muscles. Spend 10 minutes each morning reading something inspirational. Spend 10 minutes at lunch visualizing your goals as already accomplished. Spend 10 minutes before bed counting your day's successes, no matter how small. For your evening reflection, I want you to try something powerful. I call it the 3 questions exercise. Every night before bed, ask yourself, what did I do right today? What opportunities did I spot today? What am I looking forward to tomorrow? This programs your subconscious mind to search for positives while you sleep. You'll be amazed at how different you feel when you wake up. Finally, let's talk about success tracking. You need to measure your progress to know you're improving. Create what I call a victory log. Every evening, write down 3 victories from your day. They can be small. Maybe you stayed calm in traffic or chose a positive thought over a negative one. Remember this. Your thoughts are like a steering wheel. They point you in the direction you'll travel. If you're thinking about what you don't want, that's the direction you're steering toward. If you're thinking about what you do want, that's where you'll go. Let me tell you about Tom, a salesman I met in Seattle. His sales were average, and his negative thoughts told him that was the best he could do. But he learned to steer his thoughts toward excellence instead of mediocrity. He began thinking about being the top salesman, not just an average one. Within 3 months, his sales increased by 40. Within 6 months, he was leading his department. Now, here's something crucial to understand about negative thoughts. They often disguise themselves as wisdom or realism. I'm just being realistic, you might say. But whose reality? The reality of the average person who settles for average results? Or the reality of the successful person who refuses to accept limitations? True realism is understanding that your potential is far greater than your negative thoughts suggest. True wisdom is knowing that those thoughts are just opinions, not facts. Here's your 6th action, Stacey. Create a success environment. Your thoughts are influenced by your surroundings. Clean your workspace. Organize your home. Surround yourself with positive, successful people. Listen to inspiring audio programs during your commute. Read biographies of great achievers before your 7th action, Steve. Develop your gratitude power. Negative thoughts cannot survive in a grateful mind. Every evening, write down 5 things you're grateful for. Make at least 2 of them challenges or problems you faced. Be grateful for these challenges. They're making you stronger, wiser, better. Now let me paint a picture of your new reality. A reality without the burden of negative thoughts. Imagine waking up each morning with a mind clear of mental clutter. Imagine approaching challenges with confidence instead of fear. Imagine seeing opportunities where you once saw obstacles. This isn't fantasy. This is the natural result of mastering your thoughts. This is your birthright. This is who you really are beneath those borrowed negative thoughts. I've seen this transformation countless times. I've seen people double and triple their incomes. I've seen broken relationships heal. I've seen health improve. I've seen confidence soar, all through the power of change thinking. You might be wondering, how long will this take? The answer is, it takes as long as you decide it takes. You can change a thought in an instant. You can decide right now that you're done with negative thinking. Will you make that decision? The world needs what you have to offer. Your talents, your ideas, your energy, they're too valuable to be held hostage by negative thoughts. Your potential is too great to be limited by mental habits that don't serve you. Right now, in this moment, you can begin. Take that first negative thought you notice and replace it. To replace it, take that first step toward mental freedom. Feel the power that comes from knowing you're in control of your thoughts, not the other way around. Remember Michael from the beginning of our discussion. He learned these principles, he applied them consistently. Today, he owns 3 radio stations and helps others break free from their own negative thinking patterns. His transformation began with a single decision. The same decision you can make right now. The choice is yours. The time is now. Your negative thoughts have had their say for long enough. It's time for a new voice, your true voice. It's time for a new direction, your true direction. It's time for a new life, your true life. Start now. Start where you are. Start with your very next thought. Your future is waiting, and it's brighter than any negative thought has ever let you imagine. Your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny. Plant them wisely, nurture them carefully, and watch as they grow into the reality you've always known was possible. The power is yours. The time is now. Make your next thought count.